Hello and welcome to Two Girls Talk Transits. Today we're reviewing the astrology from October 5th through October 11th, 2025, and we're your hosts. I'm Maddie.
And I'm Kaleigh.
And welcome back. So we have a little bit more of an active week this week. On the 6th, we will start out with Mercury entering into Scorpio and a lot more energy in Scorpio. And actually, one is interesting because Mercury and Mars are going to be traveling really close together. Mercury actually starts to slow down a little bit throughout this month. And Mercury and Mars travel close together for like almost all over half of the sign. I do remember this when I was preparing like my monthly readings for my clients. It's like there's just this long-term conjunction between these two. It's just like Mercury and Scorpio is already more like vocally combative and vocally intense and like cuts to the point and gets straight to it. And then you add Mars, the ruler of Scorpio, in the mix. It's just like really frustrating. I don't know. The news headlines will definitely be interesting. Very aggressive energy
Yeah,
happening.
I would definitely expect like some unearthing of like things that we didn't know were going on, and
Yeah.
there being a lot of opinions about that.
Yeah. And like those opinions influence actions, and then people get really reactive. And I don't know, it's just like a real big spicy period of communication in October,
For
honestly.
sure. Yeah, especially too because like Scorpio energy really doesn't play about the things that they are passionate about or like the things that they love because they're very protective.
Mm-hmm.
So could definitely see like some heated debates coming out of like core beliefs or like wanting to protect people or, stand up for the underdog or something like that.
Yeah, it's like people are gonna be less scared too of influencing or sharing their opinions. Like when it was more of the Libra energy, there's more of like trying to keep the social niceties and like keep things comfortable. Like I know last week we were just talking about like Mercury squaring Jupiter and like trying to find both sides of things. And then something shifts right around this full moon we'll talk about next, I guess. But then it's like now it's like I'm not scared to talk about what I believe in and share what I believe in. And even if that is divisive and cuts away from certain groups or like I don't know, it's interesting. We're gonna have this energy for so long because I also just looked and like Mercury is gonna retrograde in the first bit of Sagittarius back into Scorpio, back to Mars.
Oh
So
Lord.
like these two are gonna be together for like 2 more months,
That's super interesting. Yeah.
right?
Yeah, definitely like some themes playing out two times over. So that's good that you mentioned that
Yeah.
though, because you can be like super aware of like what is Mercury and Scorpio for you, because you'll be probably setting up something or building on something in some way that you have to return to. Um, so definitely an interesting bit. It's because, whenever retrogrades come, we've got like three hits from,
Hmm.
yeah, like three
Yeah, I didn't look
pivotal periods.
exactly if they exactly, but I think they get close if they don't go exact. So it's just still a big theme that we will really need to pay attention to and just watch
Mhm.
the way communication starts to go, how that's
Mm,
and then what role you're playing in that.
yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. It'll be an interesting one. That's definitely certain. We have this like, just like moving forward on that day, and it happens at like 12 at night, doesn't it? That where we have the full moon, so it's right before the 7th.
Yeah,
We
like
have, yeah. We have the full moon happening in Aries, which is kind of like a continuation of this like martial energy, because Scorpio is ruled by Mars and we have Aries ruled by Mars. We've got a lot of like Mars, fiery, passionate energy going on, and especially a full moon. It's like, reaches this like culmination point in some way. So yeah, I don't know. I think we got a lot going on with that. Can really I don't know. I think we can use the energy in a good way, at least. If we're not, the thing about Scorpio also is like, it's very calculating. So it's like the things that you say sometimes are for the greater good. Um, but like it's like you kind of, I don't know, you like deceive a little bit. You tell half truths sometimes to get what you want.
Yeah, I mean, Mars energy is always more about selfish energy a little bit, and
Yeah.
whether it's for like doing what you want to do or like, setting, getting you pushing your agenda and your goals further down the line, whatever you have to do or say to make that happen. And well, looking at this chart for this full moon is like it's a very unbalanced Libra season right now. I mean,
Right.
Venus will be in Libra later, which will be wonderful. But right now, like she's in a debilitated space. The sun is very debilitated in Libra. Mercury and Mars together are gaining strength. The moon is gaining strength being in Aries. Like Mars is kind of our biggest placement besides Jupiter. And so like there's like you're in Libra season, but it feels very martial. It feels very like
Mhm.
people are not getting along, actually. Everyone is fighting over something. I feel like this full moon is really going to highlight the current disagreements and the current divisiveness and like separation that's happening just collectively in the world, but also like within your chart. Like there seems to be this big push into martial energy, and you're trying to keep the peace, and it just feels very uncomfortable at this moment. Like this is not a comfortable Libra season right here. And the full moon is like highlighting where you are really fighting for something and where you really want to achieve something, and how you're putting, maybe pushing the more easier comforts or relationships aside to get what you need, but then that creates an imbalance in somewhere in your life.
Mm. Yeah, it's like, you have this desire to like appease, but you can't. You have to
Yeah,
like
you
strike
can't.
out
You
on
feel
your
like you
own.
have to
Yeah.
step up. You have to stand up for yourself. Like there's this really big feeling of like, oh, I have to speak out about this. I have to stand up for this. And it is pushing against the like, oh, well, we should all just kind of get along right now or try to see the both sides, Libra season trying to balance both sides and see the both sides' opinions and make sense of everything. But it's like, I really need to, this is one cause or belief that I'm not going to step back from.
Right. I think it's interesting too because like the sun, like if we were to pull it into our own charts and like the transits and things like that, wherever the sun is transiting can be like kind of illuminating like a facet of our identity in some way. And we can be seeing, this identity that we have that strives for, peace and fairness, but we can
Hmm.
see sometimes how our actions don't line up with that, or how we're not able to always be, like how we might ideally want to be, So it's like we're holding these two truths at one time. Like I can be fair and I can be just, but also I can be like, I don't want to say like ravenous, but I can be like, I don't know what like a good word is for it. Like harsh, I think. It can
Yeah.
be harsh sometimes too, and sometimes that's necessary in order, to get what I want or do what I want. There, like you mentioned before, there's going to be a very much like, what do I want, um, tone to these transits, and like
Hmm.
figuring out how we can get that. And that doesn't mean like what do I want just for myself? It can be also like, what do I want for the world? What do I want for people? What do I
Yeah.
like? How do I want to like craft the world that I live in? And sometimes, that takes like being harsh or mean to other people to get that
Yeah.
ultimate fairness in the end.
Right. Because too much Libra is being too people pleasing,
It's like
and
passive. Yeah.
well, that's why the sun is fallen in Libra. The sun is fallen in Libra. People with a Libra sun struggle to stay firm and authentic and clear in their identity because they do are so hyper aware of the other opinions that they do tend to move towards like repressing their self, their sun, their identity to appease the social situation or whoever they're around or the general environment. And like the full moon in Aries is always like, what can you not do that? Like, what is something that's so important to you that you have to be loud about this. Like you can't just keep the peace on this one issue.
Mm,
I feel like the full moon is highlighting just the Mars houses, the Mars ruled houses in our chart, the Aries and Scorpio a lot, and that being a place where you really need to fight for something right now,
hmm.
even if it's, countering out where you're trying to hold the peace a bit in Libra.
Definitely, I definitely agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
So interesting, but this is our first full moon, so we're fully out of eclipse season. We are fully out of it, and now we're fighting for something.
That we
We're
are.
fighting.
Yeah. Not, I don't feel like not necessarily with like the eclipse we were fighting like for something in particular. I think
We were
maybe
just like
fighting,
trying to survive.
yeah, fighting for our life. I was gonna say like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Just be like,
But
oh my
now,
God, all these things are happening. Yeah.
yeah, now it's like we've survived and now we gotta like fight a little bit more for something else. Yeah.
Yeah, now something is important and we have to go for it. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
It'll be so interesting to see though, like the shift of energy come into play. And it's like we're getting a taste of Scorpio season before Scorpio season even begins. So,
Yeah, for
um,
sure.
yeah, I think it'll
This
be
is
an interesting change of pace.
yeah, it's not the most Libra season right now, but and and just to like continue that energy is like the next day after the full moon is when Mercury makes that square to Pluto that Mars made back in September. And that's again like, a real volatile interaction, just like secrets coming out, wanting to share secrets or wanting to like pull the secrets out from the people who have them in their control or their power, or wanting to talk about more intense conversations that are otherwise, not socially appropriate. You wouldn't talk about these things with Mercury and Libra, like these discussions coming out about these deeper, darker situations, feelings, and things all coming around right around this full moon too. So again, it's like I can't let this go. Like this is so important to me and this is why. And Pluto really does intensify that. Pluto can make people obsessive.
Mm,
We don't talk
totally.
about that enough, but like, people with big, strong Pluto aspects, have a bit of an obsession quality over some things, because it just like you want to know every layer of this thing and you want to understand it and control it through knowledge. And that's very Mercury Pluto.
That'll be definitely cool. I mean, cool to see like there is like this obsessive tendency, yeah, and there is that control dynamic too of like, you know, I think I don't know, Pluto has this like desire to control things. I think because it's
Hmm.
so obsessed with it that it like wants to have it in its grip forever and to eternity. It's like, the Hades Persephone dynamic. It's like, I'm going to
Right.
control her. I own her for this period of time. Um, so yeah, maybe too, we will start getting more clear, like with what we're passionate about, what are we obsessing over and why are we obsessing over it and what is it that we're trying to control? What do we, want to see the outcome of, and we're getting really clear of these like deep desires that we have and just maybe trying to answer questions of why they exist. Um, do they come from a place of like insecurity? Do I want a partner because I'm insecure when I'm alone, or do I want, a high paying job so I'm never vulnerable financially? I don't know for whatever
Right.
reason, but you find out like where do these vulnerabilities exist and how they're manifesting through that desire for control, I think.
Oh, for sure. That's a great example of it because it's just like, the Mercury, Pluto. There's just a lot going on with these, like Mars and Pluto, Mercury and Pluto, just like, these are the things that are behind the scenes of your life and your subconscious that are actually controlling your actions right now that
Mm-hmm.
you may not be aware of. Like you are doing the same rat race or this routine every day. And this is the moment where you can, like, on a constructive level, pull back and be like, why? Because, like, there is a subconscious desire or fear or obsession or power or just vulnerability you're talking about that is dictating your words and your actions right now.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this would be like a great day for therapy. I mean,
Yeah.
like,
But like really dark therapy, or
yeah,
where
like
you're like
really
really
deep.
talking about the really shitty stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is like definitely like psychoanalytic. This is like,
Yeah.
Freudian topics. Like we're getting like really to like the, human core, and finding out the deepest stuff that we have. But with I think with that, with anytime something like super subconscious comes to the forefront, we can be very, I think, self-critical and feeling like, oh my gosh,
Mhm.
I have all these dark parts that like I didn't know existed, and like I thought that maybe I healed it, or I thought that like maybe other people had this but I didn't have this within me. And I think it's like also an invitation maybe to be like, how can I, you know maybe not like shoot myself down or like criticize myself or like make myself into this evil person just because of these like dark thoughts that I have, or dark desires that I have. Like how can I care for this person like myself, through that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's just a lot of shadow work and
Mhm.
for yourself potentially. And I think collectively there will just be a lot of shadowy information coming out from governments and people in power and people in control, and maybe even things that they are saying around this day. Just take it with a grain of salt because it could be manipulative or lying. That's also a very Mercury Pluto signature, is trying to say words to cover up the deeper meaning. So,
Mhm. Yeah, that could
yeah.
be very much true. Like how do we conceal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Conceal, hide, and maintain control.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
yeah,
For
a
sure.
lot of that all around this full moon. So it's in very a lot of Mars energy right now, for sure. Not a very pleasant Libra season at the moment.
No, no, it's not. But I really like I think about this sometimes too when people have like birthdays like you're like say you're a Libra. You
Hmm.
likely have some planets in Scorpio, right? Because it's so
Yeah.
close. Or like when you're a Sag, like even though you're supposed to be like freedom loving and like fun and things like this, you likely have some planets in Scorpio and some planets in Capricorn that like, ask you to be different in this way. It's like you're
Yeah, we
never
all have
just one.
nuance.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like
Yeah.
nuance in everyone's chart. No one fully identifies with one sign because they have all 12 in their chart. And then places where the planets are, they have more intensification there.
Yeah, right,
So,
right. Yeah. I
yeah.
have a friend who is a Sag sun and her sun's in the eighth, and then she has a Scorpio stellium. So she's
Mm,
like,
yeah,
she's actually, while you might think that, she's very like Sag in a way, she's also extremely like scorpionic and has like this
right.
depth to her. So, yeah, anyways, it's super interesting. But moving forward on the 8th, which will be Wednesday, Mercury Day.
Mm,
We have Venus sextiling Jupiter, and that'll be nice and sweet. Got Venus here in Virgo, sextiling this Jupiter in Cancer. It's gonna happen. Oh, sorry, I don't have the right day. Oh, because I'm moving forward hours. It's like, what?
mm, it's okay.
Um,
Yeah.
there we go on the 8th.
Yeah. It's like it will carry forward into the ninth too. But yeah, the eighth, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I think because I'm like at 1 a.m., so it's pretty
Right.
early. Yeah, so yeah, I just think that's a nice, like, little cute aspect. We had this aspect a couple weeks ago also. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's an opportunity to just like feel expansive and, while you might be doing some of that, Venusian cleanup stuff, might be just like expanding that energy with Virgo there. I don't know if there's anything like crazy about it. I just think it's like a sweet little sextile moment. What do you think?
I mean, I think it's interesting that it's happening after everything else that's happening. Um, because it's very opposite the
Mm,
like full moon energy, and Venus and Jupiter sextiles are like one of my favorite aspects because they're very subtle, but they're very like pleasant. And
mm-hmm.
just sextiles like ruled by Venus. And so like there's just a very nice, like comforting, supporting moment where they're like taking in ease with everything. So it is very interesting this happening after the full moon, and maybe the full moon, just because Mars is in a strong placement, you feel like you're more clear about what you have to take control over, take action on, or cut away from. And then, that makes everything else seem easier. Like if you realize that, you know what, these are things that I'm leaving behind. I'm done with this. I'm not going to worry about this. And then this is my one goal and fixation that I'm going to instead focus on. Everything in your life can start to fall into place because you have your priorities clear,
Right,
like
right. Yeah.
you can like take more come to like, okay, you know what? I can enjoy these 3 hours of my day and just take it slow. And that would be like Venus, Jupiter sextile.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. There was like an energetic clearing that needed to happen for you to be able to like welcome in some form of like ease or blessings in some way. And that energetic clearing could have been like very much like a full moon moment. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
I
then now,
Go ahead.
yeah, and now you're like open to these blessings in a way.
Yeah, yeah. I have a friend who was
Mm.
like just in this relationship recently, and she was like in this like short-term relationship, but while she was in it, she like wasn't getting any clients. She's a therapist also, and she like no
Mm.
clients were coming in. And she was like,
Oh,
"Oh my gosh, like
interesting.
what is going on?" And the relationship ended, and all of a sudden like these floodgates open and like all these like clients came in. And it could be like very much like that kind of moment. Like you need to cut something off before you can, yeah, like before your other things can come in because it might be serving as like an energetic blockage in some way. And maybe that
Yeah.
energetic blockage is like we talked about earlier, like having to clear away some of your subconscious patterns or like realize what subconscious patterning is like blocking you from, a receiving in another area of your life, even though they could be, you know, on the outside totally unrelated, they are kind of related in a way. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And just things get easier when you don't obsess or you're not stressing over something anymore and you let it go. And then like
Yeah.
that opens up so much more space. And then yeah, it just feels like whatever the challenges maybe the full moon brought up, you're now able to kind of use that for something better. And there's something to fill that space. Like it's not just going to be empty. This aspect's like now you can do this and this instead. You weren't able to do those things before because you were so worried about what they would think or, all that.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a really good point.
yeah.
Yep.
So, that's the cute little aspect here in the middle of the week, which is nice. And we get something cute for once because we will end this week around the 10th, which is Friday, Venus Day, and also into the 11th. I think this aspect's happening at night as well. Is Venus and Virgo will move opposite Saturn here in Pisces. So a bit of a cold water, sort of like downer energy where Saturn is going to be more restrictive, and Venus is trying to have more fun and ease and, connection. And Saturn's like, you should be alone instead. Shock, you know,
Sorry, aloneness for you.
don't like Saturn.
Yeah.
Um, on a positive note, Saturn could increase commitments in relationships. Venus Saturn aspects can lead to long-term commitments in
Yeah.
partnerships or relationships, but they can also be like, this is not it, and cut you out, and you're alone. So I don't know, a little bit of a polarizing. I don't ever really like Saturn oppositions, but this does take us back to the eclipse, which was opposite Saturn, and
It does.
maybe,
Yeah, it does.
yeah, maybe there's a little bit of like healing from that and bringing back of like, I'm aware of this restriction and I accept it and I understand why it's there to help solidify my commitments and my relationships or my desires.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Very interesting it is. I wonder, yeah. Yeah, like I think when you mentioned, I was thinking earlier, like in synastry charts, I know that they always think it's like a relatively positive thing to see like a Venus Saturn aspect because it does represent like longevity and like
Right.
being with somebody for an extended period of time. But like you mentioned also, it can also represent like keeping you away from something for a while. So there could be like an issue with connection in some way, or yeah, like it's something that we want to do, with relating to people that could have a bit of a struggle this day. I do feel like though, like Venus is kind of passing through these Saturnian gates until it gets to Libra. I think it's like kind of waiting for the promised land on the other side. So, it just might be like it has this like little battle that it has to go through, or this little moment of like setback before it like gets to where it wants to go. But um yeah, I don't know. Think it'll be
Yeah.
an interesting I think it'll be
Yeah.
an interesting return to like Virgo energy also because it's like highlighting the eclipse that had just happened. So, we still, even though eclipse season has, ended, we still have these like Virgo themes that are kind of
Hmm.
treading through. And, there's still like a little bit of work to be done there. And I think that's being highlighted by this opposition.
Yeah, Saturn's always going to show you where the work needs to be done, and you're not going to get past that, and there's still things that you need to finish or wrap up or complete in your Virgo Pisces houses, and that's what Venus and Saturn are coming together to be like, okay, it's not all easy. You still have to do this responsibility and show up in this way and take this effort here and make sure you're contributing, all these things coming up. Like Saturn's just reminding Venus of her roles and her responsibilities here. And Venus is trying to remind Saturn of what it's like to just let things go a little bit. But yeah, the two is just like there's just still lingering work from the eclipse. And of course there is lingering work from the eclipse because we still have like one more eclipse cycle with in these signs. So like we're, right in the middle of it all. We're not done with any of this. And
Mm-mm, no,
that's
no,
just
no.
so
Yeah.
like, yeah, that's why it's just like touching back to it a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. Um, Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. The next eclipse that we have in Pisces is Saturn going to be present? I don't know when the next eclipse is. I'd have
I
to look at the
haven't,
eclipse chart.
yeah,
I
I
can pull it
haven't
up.
looked in a while.
It's
I don't
on.
think Saturn will be though, because Saturn leaves Pisces
Yeah,
February
no, it won't be. It leaves
14th.
it in
Yeah.
February. Yeah, because the next one the next Pisces eclipse we have is not till August.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's quite a while away, August of next year. So. Saturn will be out of there at that point. But
Yeah.
yeah, definitely some like limitation cleanup.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
just something left to do with Saturn and Pisces probably as well, what Venus is showing there.
Mm-hmm.
What you're working on until February
Yeah.
with this space. Yeah.
Mm-mm.
So that's it. It's not the worst aspect. I mean, it's fine. It'll be okay.
Yeah, it won't like make or break you. I would say
No.
today is probably a little bit more challenging. We're recording under the Mars Pluto square, so I think today is definitely more challenging than this one.
Yeah, this one won't feel like a Mars Pluto.
No,
There
it
shouldn't
won't.
be any more shootings.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, well, that's it for this week. So if you want more content from us as well, just follow us on TikTok, Instagram, or YouTube at Two Girls Talk Transits. And we will see you all next week.
See you.
Bye.